I have a quick announcement here first. Due to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Service requirements, this meeting will be virtual. The public may participate in the meeting/public hearing through Zoom, accessed by computer and smartphone. A link will be posted at genoa.org. Please email at genoa.org or call 810-227-5225 if you have questions. Next, Madam Clerk, if we could call for roll call and please list your location.
Ledford.
Jean Ledford in Genoa Township.
Croft. Croft.
He's muted.
Muted, Terry.
He's there though?
There goes. Nope.
I'm here, sorry.
Okay. Hunt.
Robin Hunt, Genoa Township.
Lowe.
Diana Lowe, Genoa Township.
Mortensen.
Jim Mortensen, Genoa Township.
Holly Squarish, Genoa Township. Rogers.
Bill Rogers, Genoa Township. We would kindly stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Oh, I can't. Well,
Of the United States of America,
Of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're now on to call to the public, as we have done recently via the Zoom meetings. We're just not going to limit it to right this second and close it. We'll close this at the end of the session in the event that someone has trouble getting through. So I'm going to put a note here again. All righty. Next is the consent agenda. Looking for a motion support regarding the consent agenda.
I would like the payment of bills and item 4 move to the regular agenda.
I'd
Mortensen.
like to request item 2 also move to the regular agenda, please.
whoa,
Okay, so a motion on the table is for consent agenda of item number 3. And then moving to the regular agenda, items 1, 2, and 4.
Ledford moves approval.
Full support.
We have motion and support. Any further discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes by unanimous support. Let us move on to the regular agenda, and that now is items 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. Is there a motion?
Hunt, move approval.
Full support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes by unanimous support. We now have an agenda. Let's move to item number 1, which is the payment of bills.
Yes, on computer page 6. Check 5185. Advantage Marketing. It's, I'm just curious what that is. It's in the utilities. So Greg Tatara can maybe comment on that when we get into utilities budget.
Yeah, actually, that's Advantage Marketing is a strange name, but That's who takes care of our small vacuum van that we have, that we use for grinder service. They maintain the vacuum and the high pressure equipment. I believe that specific invoice there was to repair the heater coil to generate the steam water that we use for cleaning off pumps out in the field.
Did you talk to them about their name? So I don't
know.
ask that question every year.
It doesn't jive, does it?
Uh-uh.
Oh. Okay. That's all I have on that. Then,
Here to make a motion?
yeah. Move approval of the check register. Martinson makes a motion to approve the check register.
Ledford seconds.
We have a motion and support. Any further questions? Any objection? Hearing none, motion passes by unanimous support. Item number 2, this will be the request to approve minutes dated February 15th, 2021.
Yeah, I asked this to be moved to the regular agenda. In the minutes, item number 4, which is the review of the budget. It states, Scaleris, we should ask our residents if they would choose every week and the additional cost. That was not stated at the meeting. So I think that needs to be removed, since the minutes are supposed to reflect what actually happens at the meeting.
There was a comment made, I believe, when I said no.
You did not make that comment during discussion, no.
I'll go back and check the video.
The motion is to remove. Is there support?
Oh,
Lo-
wait a minute. There's a disagreement about what's happened during the meeting or not. And the clerk wants to check the video. Should we not just table the minutes till the next meeting?
That's fine.
Move to table the minutes. Martinson.
Low support.
Any further discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes by unanimous support. It's hereby tabled. All righty, item number 4. This is a request to approve the proposal from Security Lock Service for the purchase of an IP camera system for an amount not to exceed $13,701.15.
My question's a simple one. Should we not get a second quote? Or is this supplier the supplier that gave us the original, or not gave us, sold us the original system?
You can't
This is
speak to
the
original,
same
but,
company.
when we upgraded some of the system, such as the back door, this is the firm that did that. If I'm not mistaken, and you folks can correct me, we held off on spending more money at the time. And I look at this as maybe a completion of the task at hand.
I did discuss this with Adam today, and this, if we were to go with another company, we would have to replace existing equipment that's not included in this quote. And we've been very pleased with this company as well, so.
All right. I will move to approve the proposal for Security Lock Service for the purchase of an IP camera system for $13,701.15. Mortensen makes that motion.
Ledford supports.
I'm sorry, I probably, there's a hesitation.
Ledford supports.
Redford, okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Any objections?
Are you muted?
Hmm?
Are you?
Hearing none, Motion passes by unanimous support. Thank you very much. Let's move on to item number 5. This is a request for approval of the 2021-2026 intergovernmental operation contract allocation percentage, fiscal year 2021 amended budget, and fiscal year 2022 operating budget for the utilities department. I do believe we have the boss, Greg Patera, online and for a quick conversation regarding the issues at hand.
Thank you. Just getting into this, it's been 10 years that we've brought our operations in-house, believe it or not. So the first item I want to discuss is just the new operations contract that we have. This contract has already been approved by the MHOG board, as well as the Genoa Osceola Sewer and Water Authority board at their February 17th meetings. Just a couple of highlights for the board in case you didn't have a chance to check everything out in the packet was just some of the things we've accomplished in the last 5 years. We've expanded our geo wastewater plant from 1.6 MGD facility to 3.2 MGD facility. So we have grown. We're looking forward to this plant and our staff being featured in the upcoming MWA matters for the spring edition. So I'll be sending a copy of that to the board when that comes out. So that's kind of an honor for us. We've been able to fully integrate our existing utilities into GIS, as well as all the new stuff we're getting. Operators are able to use it on the phone out in the field remotely, which is a really nice feature. We're able to do inspections through phone applications. We do our hydrant flushing through phone applications, which is real time. So unlike back in the day, when the office, people can actually see where the operators are out in the field. So if a resident calls with a complaint about pressure, rusty water, whatever, they're able to tell them right where the operators are at that time of day by logging into a screen. We also use it for our air release maintenance programs and a couple of other different applications we developed for GIS out in the field. In the last 5 years, we've also been able to develop a computerized maintenance management system for tracking all of our work orders in our collection and distribution systems. Just a couple of last things. We're now serving as a lead in developing a licensing program for collection system operators in the state of Michigan, which is a new initiative. And then lastly, in the 10 years we have been operating, we've returned over $776,000 to the utility systems back from being under budget each year that we've been operating. So that's been pretty nice. Regarding the agreement, it's pretty much the same exact agreement before. We updated the dates and some of the addresses of the parties and such have changed. Just a real highlight, there's been only 4 real significant changes. We no longer have a full-time engineer on staff here directly. We have a contract engineer through Tetra Tech that we've been utilizing, and that's been working well. So that's a change you'll see reflected in the language, and I did show that in track changes on the agreement. We're increasing our available fund balance from 60,000 to 75,000, just for emergencies or anything that may come up. We've updated the reference from the DEQ, which was the previous state regulatory agency for all of our actions, to the Department of Energy, Environment, Great Lakes, which is Eagle now. And then we updated our vehicle fleet and some of the attachments for some change in our scope, as well as a larger vehicle fleet that we now maintain. If it's okay with the board, I'd like to share my screen quickly. Oh, it's disabled. Luke, am I able to get a screen share or no?
Yeah, go ahead now. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Luke was actually looking out for us and after.
So this is our you can see we have our actual budget for 9 months. Our original that we had originally that was approved last March, and then our amended and our proposed. On revenue, one of the biggest things I just want to highlight is under Pine Creek. As the board's aware, that's now being taken care of by City of Brighton. So you can see we've reduced how much we'll receive on that this year, and then removed it from next year's budget, since we're no longer doing those billing services. Other income, once again, we're doing very well on construction fees, exceeding what we had budgeted. Next year, we lowered that because we are seeing less. We kind of have only 3 upcoming projects that we know for sure are occurring on our books right now. So we did lower that for next year. And then also Howell Township, we're doing a lot more work for them now. We're assisting in doing all of their billing, performing monthly meter reads for them as one of our participating municipalities. And then we still provide advisory services for their wastewater plant operations. A couple other quick ones here under autos that I want to point out. We did have a little bit higher expenses this year for routine maintenance, primarily because during COVID, we had our operators taking their vehicles home each day for safety reasons, so they weren't cross-contaminating vehicles with their family vehicles. This year, we are looking to add the purchase of a vehicle because we're finishing pretty substantially under budget. What we're looking to do this year is to replace our 2011 F-350 crane truck. We're replacing that with a Dodge 3500 dual axle crane truck, just because our existing one's 11 years old, and we've had to sink significant money into that. I think last year was about 10 grand in repairs. So it's starting to get pretty rusted out as well. Doing all the winter driving and such that it does. So we're looking to add that to this fiscal year.
This is Martinson asking a question. Do all our vehicles, including the one you're about to buy, they're all identified as governmental services like MHOG or whatever name is on them?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all labeled on the door. They're all numbered as well. So on the back, each vehicle is numbered. So if somebody were to call and complain, they could report whatever vehicle it is by the identification number on the vehicle.
And employees take them home, as I understand it.
We always have had employees take them home for their on-call service. Whenever we have operators on call, they take a vehicle home just so they have all the tools and supplies required to respond to an emergency. But during the COVID timeframe, and we've kind of gotten away from that now, we're back to just our on-call people taking them home. But during COVID, when things we didn't know quite how severe they were, we had operators taking them home for several months just to not risk cross-contaminating with their household vehicles and their families if there's any.
Yeah, I understand. My question is, they understand, or there's some agreement that they're not to use it for personal use?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all part of the policy manual that they're given when they're hired in.
Okay. Well, that's my annual question about that subject.
So that's in the amended budget for this year. Let's see, just a couple other quick highlights. Computer hardware was a little high this year because we did have to replace a few machines. They're really originally applying for at the MHOG water treatment plant. You can see on our amended budget, we've really lowered our professional development. COVID took a hit on that. People weren't able to go to conferences or training classes. We're hoping next year that returns to normal because we do have operators that have to maintain their continuing education credits as well as take courses to get further licensing through the state. Let's see, I don't want to go through too much detail on every one of these. This year, we are quite a bit down on our EHIM. That's our self-insured portion. Again, with COVID, not too many people went to the doctor. So we're going to save substantially on that this year.
Before I go away from this, go back to credit card fees.
Yes. Line item 730.
Yeah. 21,000, 23,000. What are those fees? You mean like?
So those are the fees, Jim, that we cover so every time you use a credit card or a customer uses a credit card, there's a fee associated with that use. We don't pass that back on to the customer. We absorb those, and we have a great number of our customers pay by credit card nowadays. More so, with
Oh,
problem with the checks in the mail, we're getting a lot.
I get it. I get it.
checks.
I
So these are,
misinterpreted.
these are the users paying their utility bill with their credit cards.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, I get it.
So the 1.5% or whatever that the credit card charges for that transaction.
I get it.
Is
I
that,
misinterpreted that as being a fee, an annual fee to have the credit card, our credit card. Okay, I don't have a
we
problem
just
with
want to
that.
offer that as a service for the convenience of our customers. It helps them pay their utility bills on time. So
Yeah, that's fine.
we don't want them absorbing that.
Okay.
For salaries, we're not looking at anything crazy there this year. We do have some operators due for promotions, and then, we're looking at the typical 2-3% range for everyone else. Overall, we're looking at a 2.97% increase next year from what we originally budgeted this year. And then this year, you can see we're looking at projecting a $90,000 surplus, even with the purchase of that vehicle. We're looking to bring our fund balance up to $75,000 as I discussed per the contract. And then we're looking at refunding about additional $77,000 this year to the utility systems. And then the last thing I have under this particular section is our allocation percentage. So this is how we divvy up that over $2 million budget you see. Each system pays into that based on its size. We use this formula we developed, which is the number of connections, miles of pipe we maintain, how much flow it produces. And this year, the only systems that really went up were MHOG, 0.35%, and Geo, 0.26%, primarily because those systems saw the most growth in the last year, whereas Oak Point and Lake Edgewood remained relatively constant in terms of their build connections, miles of pipe, budgets, etc. So that sort of ends my presentation on that. And you can just see we have a timeline that we have to maintain per our agreement. So, we're in March right now with the final budget and stuff presented to the systems. And as I said, the MHOG and Geo boards have already approved the allocation percentages, the amended and the proposed budget, as well as the contract.
Are there any further questions of Mr. Tatera?
I guess I have a comment. Number one, I can't believe it's been 10 years since we started this.
I know, I look so young, don't I?
Well, you do have a lot more gray now than you did 10 years ago.
I just have my hair shorter so you can't tell.
That's right. Well, I guess I'd just like to say, I think this is one of the best decisions Genoa Township has ever made, was starting this with you guys. And I am thrilled to renew this for another 5 years.
The whole system works extremely well, though I wasn't here 10 years ago. But it's very impressive with the collaboration. I think it's very cost effective.
Are we able to combine all 4 motions into one?
If you so desire and you get support, then we can do that.
Well, I would move to do that, and approval of A, B, C, and D.
support, Scaleris.
So there's a motion and support to go A, B, C, and D. Any further discussion?
Just a quick question for Greg. Greg, you don't think this contract should be separated out, do you? Just,
No,
okay. As long as you're comfortable with it.
Good question.
Okay, and again, we have a motion and support. Any further questions? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes by unanimous support.
Thanks, Greg.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Let's move on to item number 6. This is the request for approval of the Lake Edgewood Sewer, Oak Point Water, and Oak Point sanitary sewer budgets and rates.
So again, I just want to continue screen sharing just to kind of go over the budgets with you quickly. So this is Lake Edgewood. Lake Edgewood is the smallest system we operate. Our flows average about 120,000 gallons a day. So not, not very high. It's strictly a wastewater system. The water is either provided by MHOG or the city of Brighton, but it does have its own separate sewer plant that we maintain. So originally last year, we were looking at a budget of $371,000, just over that. And then we were looking at a small surplus of $6,640. So far through 9 months, we've only spent 216. And so so far we have a surplus of 47,423. Looking at the amended budget, we're looking at finishing under our revenues a little bit, about 354,257. But our expenditures have come down from what we projected quite a bit as well. We're looking at 302,000. So we're looking at a surplus this year of about 52,000, which would bring our fund balance to $675,000 this year. Our big expenses on Lake Edgewood, of course, are our labor, equipment, and materials. That's where we spend the most money. And then the repairs and maintenance, which is sludge or plant repairs and pump station repairs primarily. Utilities, the biggest one of those being electrical for running the blower to introduce the oxygen into the activated sludge process. Sludge disposal, which is the residual biosolids that we have to process. That's another significant expense. And then you can see a lot of these here for chemicals, lab costs, et cetera, are much smaller as well. Looking at next year's budget, we're looking again at a little bit of transfer in from DPW. Revenues about 357,927 in billing. So a total income of just over $363,000. You see accounting going up. One of the things that we're looking to do is to add some more accounting support in all of our utility systems. We'd like to be getting monthly budget to actual reports on all these, and get the budgets inputted into our computer system, our BSNA software, so that we can quickly see what's coming out. I also like to do some longer rate projections. They do like a 5-year rate analysis and comparing this to our asset management plan as well as our capital improvement plans to see where do we need to be.
Who does the accounting now?
So Ken Polka does it now. It's Pfeffer, Hanford, and Polka. Unfortunately, if Ken's our auditor, it doesn't look the greatest if he's also doing all of the, journal entries, transfers, et cetera. So in talking to Ken, he would like us to have somebody else kind of do that. And then they still serve as total independent auditor for us, is what Ken would like us to do.
That's very smart.
Next year, I want to point out that we are looking on giving the Lake Edgewood plant a little bit of love. So you can see we've raised it up to our plant equipment to 60,000 for next year. We've had one SBR tank online ever since we put the EQ system in about 5 years ago. So we want to take that down, clean it, upgrade one of the other tanks. So we want to put new aerator sleeves on, which would hopefully save some electricity. We purchased new actuators last year. We want to get those installed. We need a new recycle pump station to recycle our decant back over to the plant. And then we also want to get our blowers tuned up as well, get full maintenance done on some of the blowers because they do see a lot of work. So we did increase that next year. So next year we're going to show a small loss of about 17,000. However, with the fund balance that we have and using some of the surplus from this year, we're comfortable with with having a loss because a lot of these are just one-time expenses, and like the aerator sleeves, those last 20 years. The original ones are still on the plant. So that's kind of a summary for next year. Just looking historically at Lake Edgewood, You can see back in the early or late 2000s, we had some pretty substantial rate increases here, some as much as high as 10%. But since that time, we've really just bounced around 1.5%, 2% to 0% each year. This year, we're looking at a small rate increase of about 2%. Also looking at Lake Edgewood, you can see back historically at those times, we were losing money each year. And then since about 2013, we've been contributing to our fund balance each and every year. And then again, as next year, we're projecting that small loss by investing in the plant and doing some longer term maintenance on it. And you can also see that our flows, since 2009 have pretty much stayed consistent, up and down a little bit, but right around 445 million gallons per year. And this is just a specific data on that that I want to provide. Moving on to Oak Point Water. This year we budgeted just again a small surplus of about $1,000. So far, this past summer was very hot and dry, especially the early part of the summer. So we are looking at a surplus, or 9 months, we're 60,000 to the good. We're looking at finishing the year with a small surplus of about 2,300. The reason you don't see this carrying over is that this last quarter is a much lower water usage quarter, whereas expenses stay the same. So, typically with our water systems, we see them losing money during the winter months and then making that money back in the summer when irrigation usage is high. So we're looking at being right about where we were. We are seeing somewhat higher expenses. The biggest thing being our engineering. The board approved that project that we had. It was kind of an emergency one to get the valves redone on the filters. So we've had the engineering for that project coming here at 30,000, and that's been kind of the biggest exceedance that we had from our original projection. Next year, we're looking again at revenues about just around 500,000 just like this year. Expenses coming down a little bit to 489,000. So we're looking at about a $12,000 surplus with our small rate increase of 5 cents per 1,000 gallons that we're looking to implement. Again, looking at Oak Point, you can see the biggest expense there is again our labor, equipment, materials, repairs and maintenance. We do transfer out a substantial amount for debt each year. That's some of the bigger capital improvement projects that we've done. Utilities, this year consulting engineering was high, and then much smaller expenses from there. Much the same picture for Oak Point Water. Our rates have made fairly stable, just small increases each year. Again, back in 17, we did have a 10%, but then since that time, we've remained below 5 each year. And you can see, again, we're typically staying, slightly above to just below on our revenues to expenses. And again, our flows in 2019 were really low due to a wet summer, but we're staying right about 120 million gallons a year. So staying very consistent for Oak Point Water. And then lastly is Oak Point Sewer System. We're looking at, we budgeted for last year a small loss of 7,900. So far this year, we're about 17,000 under. And then we're looking at finishing about 47,000 under. Some of the big reasons there. Biggest reason there is sewer lines. This past year, we inspected every manhole in the Oak Point system. From that inspections, we saw a lot of debris building up that we cleaned, which costed money to clean them out. And so we decided to televise all the sewers in Oak Point this year that were over 30 years old. So we televised 19,000 feet of sewer. So just under 5 miles of sewer pipe that we televised. So that's the big expense you see there. Next year we found, and then we also had a substantial amount this year of repairs at grinders. I want to say we had a half a dozen low pressure sewer main leaks at the grinder cans that we had to dig up and repair. Next year we're looking at kind of keeping that the same. We have to fix another one tomorrow that came in today. And then We do have some pipe patches and such that we want to do on the defects that we found as part of our televising. We have some separated joints, some rolled gaskets and stuff that we want to get repaired in the gravity sewer lines. One of the big things that the board approved was us refinancing our bonds. So you can see we're able to take our annual debt service from 415,000 down to 361, which is about a $10 per quarter decrease for each of our customers on their base rate for that. Much the same thing here. You could just see that our debt service fund is our biggest expense in Oak Point Sewer. Then our LEM, our wastewater treatment charges to Geo, now that we have a wholesale customer, and then our repairs and maintenance comprise the biggest expenditures in Oak Point. And you can see our metered rate. In the last few years, we had it constant for a very, very long time, but we've had to creep that up due to some increased maintenance expenses recently. These are rate increase percentages. This year we're showing 8%. However, I do want to couch that by saying we're also lowering by $10 per quarter the debt. So the net increase for residents, for most residents, is going to be zero. The only real increase we're seeing in Oak Point is $5 per quarter for the grinder pump charge. And again, you can see Oak Point does struggle with having our revenues meet our expenses each year. Because it is an old system. Most parts of our system are put in 88 and 89. So we have a lot of stuff that's over 30 years old. And our flows basically are slowly declining or staying about the same. And then lastly, I just want to point out our capital improvement projects. We do have $840,000 in our reserves. The backwash valve replacement projects that the board approved here is $185,000. Just last month, you approved the corrosion control lining for the EQ tanks that are my background today, and that's was $50,000. And then the original generator at the water treatment plant is dating back to the 90s. It's been burning some coolant and oil, so we're looking at getting a new generator system into the water treatment plant. At about $100,000. So after completing all these capital improvement projects, we're still looking at just over $500,000 remaining in our CIP fund balance for Oak Point Water and Sewer. So with that, I guess I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have with regard to the budgets and the rates.
Any questions or comments?
Greg, as far as the rate changes, if these are approved tonight, are you going to be the one to prepare the publications? Because I know there's so many days this has to be published.
Yeah, they're actually already all typed up. We just have to send them in tomorrow if the board approves them.
Okay. I'm glad that sewer debt is going down $10, so that Oak Point, it's like you said, only really increase anyone's going to see is that grinder pump. So that helped a lot.
Yeah, for $5 a quarter.
Yep, which is very fair.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, then a motion either individually or as in mass is appropriate at this time.
Yeah, I'd move that we approve items A, B, C, D, and E if there's no objection.
Is there support?
Croft supports.
Croft supports. So we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes by unanimous support.
Thank you very much, Greg. You guys do a great job and keep it up.
All right, thank you. We'll try.
Thank you. And I'd just like to let you know that the rest of the board that the treasurer Hunt had to listen to this now for like the 10th time. sitting on that board, but anyway.
I regard it as the annual reading of War and Peace.
And just for the record, Supervisor Rogers has listened to this as well. So.
Yeah.
Hey, as I
Great work,
told you,
Greg.
Robin, you think it was bad listening to it 3 times, try talking about it for 3 times. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Okay,
Thank you.
Let's move on to correspondence.
Yes, there's one piece of correspondence, and that's the minutes of the Cromaine District Library Board from January 21st, 2021. And that is the only piece of correspondence in the packet.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. How about member discussion? Anyone wish to chime in?
You're going to see a little bit of,
I'm going to throw something out there. I wish to congratulate someone for being here 23 years today. Yeah. Mike Arkinall,
That would
our
be Mike.
manager, 23 years today.
congratulations, Mike.
Great, Mike.
And I
Thank
know
you.
all of you are going to say he had hair when he started.
Go back here.
Yeah. Anyway, but congratulations. We really appreciate it, and looking forward to the next 23.
well, I appreciate it. And I usually make a comment every year, the opportunity this has afforded my family over the years has been much appreciated. And thank you.
You do a good job, Mike.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mike.
that.
yeah, be careful crossing the street.
Is that a threat?
No. We don't want you to get hit.
On a
I best ask, oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
On a construction note, you're going to see a little bit of work on the retaining wall by Lynch Carpet. We had a site distance issue, and crews are going to be out modifying the retaining wall to remove that issue. So that's why you saw cones on Grand River. That's it, though. Once we're done with that, other than checking on restoration, when things warm up and grass starts growing, we're done with that Grand River extension, the grant that the MDOT TAP grant that Terry got through SEMCOG is wrapping up.
And are we going to have a dedication of some sort?
Well, there's one section left, right by Beyond Treasures on Hughes Road and Grand River. The reason that didn't get finished is because we were waiting on the improved pedestrian crossing at Hughes, so we didn't really want the sidewalk going all the way until that was done. So we will have continuous sidewalk on one side of Grand River from Brighton to Howell. So one of the thoughts I had was doing kind of a golden spike somewhere in the middle and put a flag of concrete that identifies the board members, the contractor, the engineers, and the folks who really did that, because it's been a long time coming. So we'll plan something for a little bit nicer weather than 13-degree wind chill.
That, I think some of us would truly appreciate, by the way. That would be the wind chill factor.
You know, Randy has done work on certain buildings because he's a carpenter, and they do these dedications, but they never talk about the people that actually do the work.
Yeah, Jerry Sturberg with Concrete Construction I've worked with him for 30 years, and he has done an outstanding job. Isabella Construction finished this last portion through the MDOT grant and did a good job. So yeah, the guys who are out there doing the work, I mean, that's a lot of concrete. You're talking 6 miles of cement. It's a lot of work, and they've done a great job.
Well, I think we should look forward to that little event with those folks participating when things warm up a little bit. That's
A lot of it.
a lot of it. Okay. I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. Anyone else? I have to ask, is there anyone from the public that is called in and waiting, anything of the sort?
Mr. Supervisor, we have not had any contact.
Having none, I'd like to close the call to the public. And motion and support for adjournment are in order.
Move to adjourn.
Cross
Ledford.
support.
Croft support. Ledford and Croft. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks, everyone.
In order,
Thank you.
ask for suspension on that one because I figured there probably wouldn't be. But thank you very much and have a great